How do you distinguish between that? You talk about a tangible impact in someone's lives. We often think about that requires numbers, but it doesn't always have to be. How can
No.
you quantify those intangibles a little bit?
Yeah, for me, feedback, especially when you're just starting out, it will not be big numbers, right? But you will hear feedback from people that they're making progress, that, small progress in business, building a habit, building a business. It takes small, consistent steps. So intangible is like this energy of momentum of, okay, I think I can do this. I think this is my passion. So when my clients start feeling the momentum, it doesn't always come from the numbers, it just from this feeling that it started clicking.
My name's Joel, and I'm a recovering nerd. I've spent the last 25 years bouncing between creative jobs and technical teams. I worked at places like Nickelodeon to NASA and a few others that started with different letters. I was one of the first couple hundred people podcasting back in the early aughts until I accidentally became an IT analyst. Thankfully, somebody in the government said, "Hey, you're a nerd that talks good." And that spun me off into the world of startups, branding, and marketing for the same sort of researchers and startup founders that I used to hang out with. Today, I help technical people learn how to get noticed, get remembered, and get results. On Nerds That Talk Good, I want to help you do the same. I talk with some of the greatest technical communicators, facilitators, and thinkers that I know who are behind the big brands and the tech talk that just works. I am super excited today to be welcoming Lidia Axe as today's guest nerd on Nerds That Talk Good. I'm going to use this time a little selfishly because she is a coach of coaches. I'm very excited about that. But Lidia has been a high-level executive at PwC, has an executive MBA from London Business School. She's been coaching and training since 2016, and then more recently, or in the last couple of years, been coaching coaches. And so what we're going to talk about today is, how do you really discover the expertise that you have? You have abilities, you have skills and knowledge, but in order to pass that on to people, whether you need to be a coach or not, or trying to be a coach or not, you have to know what you know. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Lidia, thanks so much for joining.
No, super cool. I'm super excited, always, born ready, and I like it. I think people, because I have my own podcast, and that's what I do in my podcast. When I invite guests, I'm selfishly extracting value out of them. So if I get value, I know my listeners get value. So, totally, totally cool with that.
This is great. So I always like to start off with the nerd origin story. Kind of give us your
Mm.
background, where you're coming from, talk us through a little bit of the career, and maybe when you got that aha moment to do the thing that you're doing today.
Of course. And it's been a long, long, long journey. I know people look at me, you're like, 20. No, I'm not 20. I'm 48. And people don't realize that looking at me, which is a blessing, uh, but yeah, it's been a long journey. So I've been in corporate world. I've been, like you said, I've been in finance. PwC been my home for a long time, 13 years. And but what people don't realize, when I said I've been in PwC for 13 years, however, because PwC is such a huge organization, I moved around every 2 years, right? I never stayed in the same department. I was in audit for 2 years, then I moved to, actually, I started in corporate finance, then I moved to audit, then I moved to transaction support, then I moved to maternity leave, and I gave birth to 3 beautiful boys. Then I moved back, and I'm like, I cannot be client-facing staff because I don't want work crazy hours. I want to, I want to raise my kid. I want them to remember my face. So they offered me risk management because nobody wanted risk management, to be honest. They said this is the dullest and the most hated job. I'm like, I don't care. I don't get out of talking to these little individuals. I want to talk to real human beings. So I became risk management assistant manager at that time. Then in 5 years, I moved quickly up, becoming from assistant manager to manager, senior manager, and not just before was just Russia, and then became Central Eastern Europe, and then I became like a director of risk management. So it doesn't matter. I don't know who's listening, but people don't be limited by a job or a title or whatever. You make, it's not the job that defines you, it's you defining the job. They gave me the job that nobody wanted. I made everything of that job. And it was good because I was not client facing. That means I could do it from home because when kids are sick and when kids are small, they get sick. So I could do it from home. I could do it flexible. While kids are sleeping, I could do it at night. And I progressed way faster than folks in the client facing role. So I became a director. I reached the top, almost the top. I was on a way to partnership in PwC. But then I was like, you know what? It's all good. I mastered this game. Everything in life is a game, or at least that's how I approach it. But then I mastered this game, but it's a game. I want something that actually makes sense. I want to do something that actually gives me deep meaning and deep satisfaction. At that time, I hit the midlife crisis. And I know I was young, 35. For a normal midlife crisis, it usually hits later, but I checked all the boxes. The midlife crisis hit when you check all the social boxes: family, check; career, check; house, car, whatever. And I'm like, I want something else. So that's why I was starting looking for something else. And I will fast forward because there is a long story. But through experimentation, I left corporate, I moved to Wild West of entrepreneurship. And through experimentation, I realized I really love working with people. What I have, my own story inspires people. So my strengths are, inspirational, and, I can teach, and I love teaching. I love inspiring. I love mentoring, coaching, consulting. So that's what I do today. I don't do, and I know some people call themselves coaches. I'm fine with that, but for me, it's just too small of a box to fit in. For me, I have a toolbox. I have coaching. I think coaching is great, but it's just one tool, like a screwdriver. You cannot do everything with a screwdriver, right? You need a hammer, and then you need, help me here. You need all those tools, right?
Yeah, you need this. You've got to take everything that you've learned
There
and
you go.
figure out different ways to deliver it.
This is what I realized. I love, love, love seeing people succeed. And that's what I do today. And I know a lot about business because the last 10 years I've been doing business myself, and I've been helping other people in one capacity or other. And I'm like, why not? And I have a strong business background, right? Because I'm coming from finance, because I've been in the business school. I have a strong foundation. I've done it myself. I have a knowledge, I have experience. So what I offer today is this toolbox, and I don't limit myself to one square. I say, I look at your problem and I offer you what is going to help your problem most. Sometimes it's teaching, sometimes it's mentoring, sometimes it's consulting, sometimes it's coaching. So I offer the tool that is best for the job that you need.
I think what's fascinating about your journey is, you started at finance. Really is kind of the nuts and bolts micro view, and then moving through all of your experience to getting that macro view, and then realizing, at some point you're like, I can't do client facing. I'm not as effective client facing.
Mm.
You wanted to focus on that larger view, but then having that realization that now I have this toolbox and all of these skills that I've acquired over time, and I'm able to go back down to maybe that more personal view. You were saying, "Oh, I don't want to be client facing," but coaching and teaching and mentoring is all client facing. And you've been able to take that broad perspective and build that expertise, and then focus it very very sharply on maybe day to day, or the very close personal challenges of business owners.
But you need to understand there is 10-year gap. Like
Right.
my boys, at that time when I was not ready to be client facing, at that time my boys were like, they were small, so they needed way more attention. Today, they're 20, 22, and 24. Okay. So it's just important to know your values. And for me, family, my kids, is my top value, right?
Yeah. And
So, yeah.
I find from an entrepreneurial perspective, it gives you that ability to have that flexibility. And now, you're at a different point in your life that you can look back and say, look at all the things that I've done. How do I, at different times, how do I use them now? I'd like to dig in a little bit about right now. You're positioning more as the coach of coaches and helping people do that same thing that you've done,
Yep.
which is phenomenal. And I think a lot of my listeners, whether they're coaches or technical people, they're getting to that point where they're like, I need to be able to talk about what it is that I do.
Mm.
It's not enough to do anymore. And I think that's becoming larger in our society. It's not enough just to be able to do something. You have to be able to communicate it. You talk a lot about like not wasting a lot of time if you don't have to on social media, which I absolutely get in that trap. And my LinkedIn views are absolutely garbage right now for some reason. And I'm like, should I be focusing on getting those views up, or should I be focusing on building out
Mm.
the systems that I need? So, can you talk me a little bit through who you're working with now, and just broad strokes, kind of what your process is with them for that?
No, of course. Yeah, yeah. And I hear you. Yeah. The problem with social media is you are hostage. You're hostage of the
Yes.
algorithm, and you're hostage of trends, and you're just a hostage. And my philosophy is I don't want to be hostage. I want to be in control. And maybe I'm a little bit control freak, right? But what worked for me before and what's working for me now, and what I'm teaching and helping my clients with, I'm saying you don't need to be. Now, I'm saying you can still use, and social media, I'm not saying it's not helpful, it's good and you can use it. But I think if you rely on social media as your only source of leads, clients, then you're a hostage. You'll give up control, which I don't like. All right. So my philosophy, and that's how I built my business. It's funny. I just had a really cool discovery call a few hours ago, and they're like, how your first coaching business took off? And I said, look, first, actually, I didn't have when I moved from corporate to entrepreneurship, my business was brick and mortar. I created Kids Club because, when I went to business school, they teach you, like, what's your business should be about? Something you know a lot. And I'm like, okay, I know a lot about finance, but I hate finance. And I know a lot about kids. So I decided, because I know a lot about kids, I have 3 kids, that's a lot. At least in Russia, it was a lot. I created Kids Club. And it was not just kids, but it was kids and mom club. Because I was so upset when I would see moms bring kids to some classes, and the kid in the class and the mom is sitting in a corridor, just either bored to death or just in
Hmm.
her phone, scrolling, doom scrolling. And I'm like, I want to create a place where the kid is doing something useful, the art, dance, whatever. We had all sorts of classes. And the mom is doing something that develops, not just, doom scrolling, just bored to death. And then 3 years later, I realized I had enough kids at home. And I love my kids, but I don't like other people's kids. Sorry to them. But I really loved talking and working and helping moms, women, adults develop. So that's how the whole thing started. But at that time, I told the guy this morning, I announced my first challenge. Soon I sold my club, the club that I started brick and mortar. I'm like, I'm done. It's too much. I don't like it. I sold it. But then I started something and I said, I started my first challenge and I got 50 signed ups. And he's like, how did you make it? I'm like, because while I had this 3.5, 4 years of my club, I was reaching out to people. Yes, I was posting. Yes, I had a website. Yes, I had social media and I had some posts about what's going on. But I also spend insane amount of time, I don't know, 15, maybe more a day, reaching out to people. And I would post to moms groups because I know this is my audience. And I would post and I would look for the questions there. And questions didn't have to be about exactly the club or the problem that I'm solving. They were just questions the moms asked, newly moms. And I know everything about being a mom, with 3 kids. And they were saying, oh my God, I have the rush, or I have the high fever, or, I don't know what to do with this and that. And I would just reply, give value. So they start to see my name popping in again and again and again. Oh my God, Lidia, she's just giving value. She seems to be very knowledgeable. She seems to be, I don't know, trusted. I love the word trust because that's the method I used. And then I would run something in my club. For example, New Year party. And in Russia, New Year, the kids' New Year party is like something big. And so I was posting this group saying, hey, we have a New Year party in my club. My club was called Mama's Dream. Mama's Dream, good name. And I'm like, we're having a great New Year party. Do you want to come? And they say, yes. We had 100 people come to my New Year party, which is, huge. And then once I left, so I sold the club and I told them, I'm like, okay, I'm selling the club, and I explained. I was always very transparent and authentic. And then I'm like, now, I had my 4th child at that time, which was hard. New business, 4th child, not a good combination. I'm like, okay, I need to lose some weight. Who wants to do it with me? 50 people signed up in a minute, one post.
So you had spent a lot of that time not just doing, but delivering the value, giving value away. And I think a lot of people
and connecting
are
and connecting.
connecting,
No,
building that
connecting.
platform. Yeah.
People ask simple question like, what do you do if my kids have a rush? What do I do? And I tell them, I don't give them advice. I say, hey, you need to check if there's this, do this. If not, go to a doctor. And I keep, and they're like, oh, it has a, which studio, which. So they ask, new moms have a lot of questions. And I just share my experience. So it wasn't necessarily even the expertise. It's just been helpful, genuinely helpful to these people. So they start considering you as a third, as someone authentic, and as someone you can trust. I really love the word trust. There is this know, like, and trust factor, right? So the know and trust factor, if you can bring it out, then whatever you announce, and for me it was when I sold my business, I announced my first challenge. I said, look, I just had my fourth child. I'm 38. I was 38 or 39 at that time. I need to lose some weight. Who wants to do it with me? I was not even like a health coach or a health professional. I just was the inspirational coach. I wasn't even a coach at that time, to be honest. And they're like, yes, we want to do it with you because we know and trust you. And I had 50 people sign up right away.
Yeah, know, like, and trust is a pillar of what I do with my clients. And I talk about emotion. So starting with liking first, understanding, and then that gut level feel of just do I have a good trust base, and
Yeah.
that is almost more important than do you know your stuff. It's like, do I trust them to give me good advice and to direct me in the right direction. I'd love to ask you how you made that transition then from, saying, well, I wasn't even a coach. You were coaching people. But I think to be a coach or to be an expert and then to sort of position yourself formally, you have to formalize what your own knowledge is and you have to have your system. How did that come about to you, or how do you help your clients figure out, okay, this is now a repeatable thing that I can do? Because I think a lot of people are like, when they step into this realm, they're like, I've done a thing. I just pay me to talk about the thing that I've done and I will help you. And, that's not coaching. That's
Yeah.
maybe it's mentoring. That maybe that's the jump from mentoring to coaching. But what do you consider a coach to be?
Correct. All right, so I started this, I think it was 2015, 16, but because I came from this corporate world and, I was a certified accountant, obviously, I got my degree and, you know, so I'm like, okay, it seems like what I'm doing is coaching. I need to get certified. I need to get education. And obviously, or maybe not, but for me, I always go for the best.
Hmm.
I don't know. That's me. So Ericsson International, at that time, Ericsson, I did the research, was the best in the world. Ericsson International in Canada, I signed up for their course 2017. So I took the professional coach certification, 6 months, solid. And I highly recommend. I know there is a lot of discussion. I have my own podcast and I have guests who says, um, certification is bullshit. Unfortunately, and I'm going to say it, unfortunately, coaching is unregulated industry. And
Hmm.
I don't think it's helping, but, I'm not going to go into that in detail. Anyway, I got the certification because I needed to get the best. That's me. I got my MBA from London Business School, the best in Europe. And then I got my coaching degree, best. I think it's one of the best in the world. ICF certified coaching certification 2017. Um, and I knew what coaching is about, but then when I went through it and then I started coaching, I realized that coaching is not a profession. And again, some people will not agree with me. I think coaching is the tool. I'm coming back to my earlier point in the toolbox because, clients keep coming to me with a question, and I knew sometimes all they need is a simple instruction of what to do. They didn't need coaching, they need, I don't know, teaching or consulting, right? Or sometimes I need to share a story from my experience, and that's mentoring. So very soon, pretty soon, I realized coaching is a great tool, but it's not, I don't want to be limited by it. So I didn't go the path. I'm going to become, just the ICF certified coach and I'm going to stick to it. I went an alternative path because I said, you know what? I was in corporate Korea with everything. It was set to go like PwC, you go senior consultant, assistant manager, senior manager, everything is so scripted, and you need to fill the boxes to go. I don't want that. That's why I left corporate. I wanted more freedom. I wanted more creativity. I want to help people. And I think when people come, and sometimes that's how I felt, Joel, sometimes I felt, oh my God, when I come to someone for advice, they say, I'm going to give you this, but for other pieces, you need to go find other people. And I'm like, I felt lost. I felt, I didn't feel good. So what I wanted to provide a holistic approach. I wanted to solve problem, right? And I wanted to give people, I wanted to use the tool to solve the problem. So I didn't want to dictate it from, I'm a coach, I'm sorry, I'm not giving advice, and I'm going to give you this, because I'm, because of the rules or whatever. I went outside corporate because I didn't want to be following the rules. It's that. So that's me. And I know it's, again, I made this comment earlier, because we don't have regulation of coaching industry. It creates some tension. There are some people out there that call themselves coaches. They don't even know what that means. They have no basic understanding. I think, I understand very well when I'm putting my coach hat on, or when I'm putting my consultant hat on, or my mentor hat on. And sometimes I even tell my client during one session, I'm like, okay, Joel, now I'm going to put my coach hat on, and, let's do this now. Or, okay, now you asked me that question. This is your problem. I'm going to put my teacher or mentor hat on, and I'm going to tell you what to do. Because there is 1, 2, 3, 5. I know if you're going to do this, you'll succeed. I don't want to waste time on asking you, what is the best way to do it? Do you think you can, I don't want to waste time on that. And unfortunately, some people don't even know, because they never got the education, the proper education. Yeah. But, that's me.
That distinction is extremely helpful. So I would ask you, if you're talking to somebody or working with somebody who is an aspiring coach, or they've got the experience, and people, I find with me, I would say what I do is more on the mentorship side, and I have a lot of people who recognize and come to me and say, will you help me out with this problem, right? And so that is a little bit more organic. But for somebody who is trying to position as a coach in the marketplace, and understanding that we don't have the regulation, and how do they build that trust if they haven't had the benefit of being a part of a community, or they're building their outward facing, call it marketing materials, but it's more on building their platform. How do you sniff out a good, or maybe one that's not as solid foundation, if they don't have that certification? Maybe they're working on it, or maybe they just don't post about it. It's not on the front page. Have you developed a nose for the coach, and say, this person really knows what they're talking about, and
Yeah.
has the program and the skills?
Yeah. I think I recently posted, because I had that question. I talked to a friend of mine. I'm doing a lot of outreach because, I always, do what I preach. I always take my own medicine. I do a lot of outreach. So I've been talking to a friend of mine, and she's, Lydia, I've been on Instagram. I received so many inbound inquiries, like from coaches who says, I'm going to help you. So what I do, the coaches who help coaches, and, how do I know if I can trust them? So exactly the question that you asked. So I created a post. I don't exactly remember what I said there, but I think few things, right? First of all, I think good starting point is testimonial, right? Look, how many months, how many years they've been on the market doing this thing, like this problem that they're solving with. And when you look at the testimonials, these days, unfortunately, it is so easy to fake testimonials. So look up these people. Do they have the link to their profile on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram? Are they real people? They contact one of them, at least one of them, see if they're real people, right? So that's what I would do. Because that's what I'm trying to do right now. My testimonials are from my clients who are real people, and I link their LinkedIn profile or the YouTube profile, the website, so you can go and check them out. Ask, did you really? And the video, like what I'm leaning into, the video testimonial, right? Which is harder. And again, you can still get them. Okay, let's not be naive. You can still hire someone on Fiverr or Upwork or whatever, and someone will record a testimonial for you. Okay, so first, check out the testimonials, right? Yeah, secondly, just see if the promises are not overinflated. And that's, because, if they're promising you the moon and the stars in the next 30 days, come on, guys, building a business takes time.
And it's the
Nothing
same
happens.
with all products. I see so many products which are like, we're going to 10x your revenue. It's like, no, you're going to make my processes more easy. You're going to make my processes easier. It's like the 10xing of the revenue is still on the client to execute. And I work in cybersecurity, and they say, we stop the hackers. I'm like, no, you're an alarm that tells me hackers are happening. I still have to take the action. And so I think you're right. I think there's a lot of movement towards sell the outcome,
Mhm.
but if you promise the outcome that's too big or too downstream or removed from what you're actually delivering, that can be a red flag. So
Yeah.
that's good.
So, look, the inflated promises, obviously, weird or fake testimonials. And then, yeah, talk to them. I think there need to be a way to connect to those people live, especially if you're paying high ticket, right?
Mm-hmm.
And coaching is high ticket. So, yeah, see if you can connect to them one-on-one like this. And I think through this conversation, like we're talking right now, right? You can sense the energy. Is this a person? What you can sense what's the offering? Is this something, would you be comfortable? Is this the energy is matching? Is the personality matching? Values are matching. So I think, yeah, try to get a real call before paying. Definitely high ticket. You need to have some sort of a connection call, discovery call, some sort of a connection to that person. And once you get on a call, I think you can get sense if this is a real person, authentic, ask questions. Yeah, that's how I'd go about it.
That's very helpful, and that leads to something that I like to do in my discovery calls. I offer a free 15-minute. I call
Yeah.
myself, so talk about unregulated. I call myself a message therapist. I don't have a therapy certification, but there's no such thing as a message therapist, so I can get away with it.
Cool.
But what I use in my workshop is the
Yeah.
message deck, and I warned you
And
about
I
this.
love
So what
cards. I love cards.
and they're so good for coaching and
Yes.
consulting. So talking about emotion, logic, and credibility,
Yeah.
like, know, and trust, and how we
Yeah.
build that out. And then taking people through my process is helping them build out this messaging stack. So with your permission, we talked about this earlier. I didn't want to
Yes.
spring it on you. I want to do a really quick mini message therapy session with Lidia Axe and have you answer some of these. All right, before we get to the mini message therapy session with Lydia, which is fantastic, stick around for that. I had a great time. I just want to say hi. I'm back. Welcome back to season 2 of Nerds That Talk Good. Took a little bit of a hiatus there. Been working on some talks and promoting the book which you can go out and get, which please do. And if you buy it, please leave me a review on Amazon. But I just want to say hi. I've been sitting on a whole bunch of amazing episodes, and I'm cutting them together right now. I'll be releasing them every couple weeks. Got to slow down a little bit. I got a little aggressive, but thank you so much for being there. Thank you for all the support. And head on over to nerdthattalksgood.com/podcast for this episode. And also, don't forget to go back and listen to some of the other ones. If you've missed them, there's homework at every page. So let's get back to this mini message therapy session with Lidia Axe. So the very first at the top is our big ideas. And I think what I want to do for you, this is good. So in the coaching,
this is scary.
don't be scared. In the coaching world, what is the inspiration to action? I don't know if my autofocus is working. There we go. What is the inspiration to action in your industry? Why do you get up in the morning? And why does your audience get up in the morning?
Oh,
It's a tough one. It's
tough
a tough
question.
one.
Okay. But I love the challenge. I know I'm a certified values coach, and I'm really into values. I think everyone needs to know the key values. So I tell you, one of my top 3 values is daring. I told you one, which is family, obviously. But second one is daring. Daring. So any challenge, is good for me. I think that's one of the reasons I moved from the corporate world, because I never felt, when I was in corporate world, I never felt what value I bring to this world. Like I never felt. And once I moved to the business, kids club, even the kids club, and then the coaching, it was so obvious. I could feel the value. It was so immediate. Every coaching session, almost every coaching, I mean, there are different coaching sessions, but almost every coaching session, the client comes out with some insight. And then there is even more. And then there is a ripple effect, not just the client, but the kids and, the family. So I wake up. This is my thing. Understanding that the impact that I make on my client, and sometimes I doesn't feel in the moment, but then, they tell me, oh, I make this one conversation. Like currently I'm working with someone who is doing the 1 conversation a day challenge, and they come back to me, I just did one more. And I understand, I see the excitement building up, and I know there will be a ripple effect. So it's the impact, and it's so immediate and it's so effective, but it's also the ripple effect that I know it's going to make, because he's contacting other people, and then the people around him, and then the people he contacting, and it becomes like this huge effect. And it's, I don't know, for me it's tangible, very tangible, the effect I'm making on people. I think my clients as well. And my coaches are different. I have a relationship coach, the dating coach. She's helping women to start dating again using dating apps, which might be an absolute nightmare. I don't know. I'm married 25 years, so luckily I don't have to do this. But she helps women to start dating via the dating apps. That's the reality. I have a coach who is a health coach and helps people over 50 build the resilience, strength, and energy, and, amazing. So they have such a purpose and a passion. I don't know, that's a real fuel to my life. And that's what wakes me up every day.
I love that, because you actually went through almost the entire stack of cards just from that one prompt. The next one, I'm not going to even go through all of them, but
No,
the next one
this.
would have been a story, which is like painting a picture of your client from the before and after. You just went into that so seamlessly and beautiful. What I would prompt though is,
Yeah?
put a name to the industry bad guy that nobody talks about. What's maybe a deep dark secret in coaching that you're helping to combat, and put in like an actual name to it? Because if you
Yeah.
can name it, you
Oh,
can
yeah.
claim it, as
Oh,
they
yeah.
say.
Oh, yeah, I can. Don't even get me started. Yeah, I keep saying, I keep pointing the finger at them. I'm not afraid of this. There are so many, people who like coach the coaches who throw those inflated promises, unrealistic expectation. They're saying, oh my God, you can become 6-figure coach, 7-figure coach in 30 days or 90 days. These people, they destroy trust, they destroy people's lives. Yeah.
Wow, that's really good. You already touched on sort of the differences between a tangible and an intangible
Mm.
solution. Maybe talk briefly a little bit about how do you distinguish between that? You talk about a tangible impact in someone's lives. We often think about that. That requires numbers, but it doesn't always have to be.
No.
How can you quantify those intangibles a little bit?
Yeah, for me, is this feedback. And yeah, especially when you're just starting out, it will not be big numbers, right? But you will hear feedback from people that they're making progress, that, small progress, because this is what it is. In business, building a habit, building a business, it takes small, consistent steps. So intangible is like this energy of momentum of, okay, I think I can do this. I think this is my passion. I think, you know, this is what again, this is hearing from my clients. So when my clients start feeling the momentum, it doesn't always come from the numbers. It just from this feeling that it started clicking, it started working. Either they contacting, they hearing, just working, they hearing good words. Yeah. So I think it's the energy, which is hard to measure. So it's energy of building momentum, is the movement, is the progression, progress. Yeah, I really like and I encourage, and it fuels my excitement and my motivation to help them.
That's great because that leads right into the next card, which is, what phrase do you hear from your customers often, and matching that to what do
Mm,
you find yourself repeating often? So, just
mm,
to just to play a little message therapist, you can say, look, we may not promise huge results, but we'll
mm.
promise momentum and progress, and small wins lead to big results, and that's kind of a way of countering that overinflated
Yeah.
way. So I love that story that you're building there. Let's see. Here, this is a good one because I often talk in my proof points about testimonials.
Run.
Testimonials very important, but what are things that you wish people would say about you? And how
Mm,
do you set them up for success so that you can then ask them for that? I think that's another thing that people miss out on is if you don't have a testimonial, you have to have an eye on what you wish people would say about you and be delivering it. So maybe thinking now, maybe outside of even your direct sphere, how do you identify that with someone that you're working with?
yeah, I wish people see me as, and a friend of mine uses this metaphor. I really like it. In bowling, for kids, they put these rails up.
Hmm. The
So,
bumpers, yeah.
yeah. So when they pull, it's still, you get 10 out of 10. It might not be the streak or whatever you call it, but it will not go completely off. So I want to be someone described as this rail. Like I'll be there. I don't know. I'll be there guiding you. along the way. And we said, I'm big on strategy, so we usually set the strategy. But I think it's, I don't know, 20%, because 80% for me is actually execution. You need to go out and do the thing. But so I still want to be, and I think that would be the most rewarding, that I was there along the way, helping them not to go completely off the rails.
Right.
And become a victim. Because I do this. I still, to this day, sometimes get derailed by self-doubt, perfectionism, by imposter syndrome, and all the other negative self-talk. Then instead of going straight, I just stop. I just don't go. So I want to be someone for my clients that help them hit their goal. Doesn't have to be perfect. I'm fine. If it's not 10 of 10, still okay. But I want to be there for them to hit the goal. And they're like, yay, I got it. Now we can analyze it and then do it again and do it again and do it again and do it again. Yeah.
Getting better all the time. Like we'll
But keep
accomplish
going.
it, and then we'll
Keep
keep going.
going.
Yeah.
That's
There's
it.
there's no end. The cards, this deck of the cards is really more for the technical products. But what would you consider as unique, not special about you, but unique? Because they say, every sandwich shop has got a special sauce. Having a
Yeah.
special sauce is not special, but if it's unique, what is unique about what you bring, or how you approach your work?
All right. Two things. I don't know. You choose or you tell me. One, I'm a big fan of movies. So I bring movies up as a metaphor because I love movies, and I've been trained actually as a movie therapist or a movie coach. So yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah. You know me. If I left something, I go deep. And I know that, it's just so easy to see the patterns and to recognize things. So I use it, but I don't use it heavily. Maybe I should do more. But I try to inject in my coaching sessions the kind of a use examples, the characters, the things. And, I had a funny conversation. I had a client, and I think it was third session. And she's like, Lidia, I have to confess. I'm like, go ahead, And she said, the first two sessions, I was very concerned because you used so many kind of the movie examples. And I'm like, you wasting, because there is 1 hour, you wasting time, telling me all the stories. And then only after the second session, I realized that I remember what we talked because you use the story, because it's so remarkable. It's so vivid. I remembered it because of the movie. You asked me what we talked about last session. I remembered because you used the example from the movie. And I hate it first, and then I liked it. Anyway, so I think my unique sauce is I like to use stories, whether it's a movie, whether it's a fun anecdote or something. Because I want a visual. I want you to get, I want to get you visceral experience. I'm very kinesthetic person. There are various people. Some people are audio, some people are visual. So I'm kinesthetic. So for me, it needs to be very kinesthetic. So I guess that's one. And second one is I've been through a lot. So my story, I had a lot. Parenting, marriage, career, business, moving countries, being in the war zone. I had a lot of experience. So whenever whenever we talk about something, I have a real story. Maybe it's connected to the first one. I share it. So I always I can relate. So the empathy is not because I'm just empathetic with you, but because most probably I experienced not maybe something like that, but something similar. and I share my story, and you can like, oh, and you can learn from my story. Yeah. And so I think that's it. I've been through a lot. I have a lot of experience, and I share it openly with my coaching clients. So yeah, I don't know. I think that's it.
Yeah, I think both of those are intertwined. I think sharing stories that you have personally experienced and that empathy, but then also I would say using that's universal language of story, and if someone hasn't experienced it, they may have seen the movie and
Mhm.
we experienced through that. As we wrap up, how do you outside of your coaching? I mean, I guess you're a movie buff. What are the things that keep you engaged or keep you refreshed as your day-to-day life?
Mm. Yeah, it's a tough one. And my sister was visiting me yesterday, and she's like, I was complaining, oh, I gained some weight. And it's like, well, that's because you're stressed. I'm like, yeah, I'm stressed. We've just been during the war with
Mm-hmm.
Iran, I am stressed. And she's like, you need to meditate. I'm like, nah. Meditation is hard for me. She's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm cooking. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm cooking. And for me, I just found it surprisingly. I never cooked until I was, I don't know, 45 or something. Cooking was not my strongest suit. I cooked, obviously, I had a family,
Right.
but I cooked something very basic. But now I actually found cooking. I have the whole Notion database. I'm a big Notion
Mm-hmm.
fan. So I have the whole Notion database and now saving all my recipes. And it's like I'm doing fermenting. I'm doing, yeah, when I go into something, I'm going hardcore. So it's like I'm doing jams, and then I'm doing some crazy things, but I forget, I lose myself into it. So when I'm going in, and I'm like, what I like is like I'm cooking, and then it's something good for my family. It's healthy, because I've always been to healthy eating, healthy lifestyle for me and my family. So I'm cooking something, veggies and
Mm-hmm.
fermenting, and a little bit obsessive, but yeah. So cooking, I found that cooking, I lose myself into it. It's like a meditation, but it keeps my hands busy, and I enjoy doing it. And I usually, because of my ADHD, I usually listen to something. I listen to the
Mm-hmm.
podcast while I'm doing this. So listening new ChatGPT technique, or listening to new email marketing. So I'm learning, always learning something for myself or for my clients. And my hands are busy, so I'm cooking something great for my family, something healthy. So the salads, the not bacon. No, I'm not in bacon. Bacon is not that
Baking
healthy.
is a science.
No,
Baking is a science,
no,
and
no, I
and
don't do
cooking is
that.
like jazz. Yeah.
Yes.
My wife
Oh, I
is
love
a
that.
is a
I
logistics
love that
person.
metaphor. I love that metaphor.
Well, it's true. I can follow a recipe, but if I don't have an ingredient, we don't have ketchup. Well, just grab some tomato paste and vinegar and make
There
your
you
own
go.
ketchup. My
There you
wife
go.
is an amazing baker because she never deviates.
Oh, no, no, that's not me.
No,
No, that's not
yeah,
me.
the creativeness of cooking. I think cooking and stories are probably the two things that bring us back to make us the most human. So, I have so enjoyed our conversation, and I mean the humanity comes through, the drive, the boldness to step out there and help is just incredible. How can people follow up with you? You know, I'll put links and everything in the resources and the homework section of the podcast.
Yeah,
But if people really want to get more into what you're about, where can they find you?
thank you. So LinkedIn is a place where I try to hang out every day. So Lidia Axe, that's me. Hopefully there will be links below. But also Get It Done coaching. because that's me. I'm all about getting the results. So getitdonecoaching.com. Get there. There is a newsletter, Driving
Sunday.
Coach
Oh, yep.
Sunday. Yeah. Just sign up. It's totally free. Every Sunday I send some practical tips, advice, how you can build thriving coaching business, because I am passionate to make more coaches, consultants, solopreneurs succeed financially, because I think there's such a ripple effect that we've been talking that they can create, that hopefully this can help this messed up world become a little bit better.
Every little ripple that we can create can be for good. So thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure. I will be signing up for the newsletter immediately and dropping all the links and the resources. Lydia, thanks for joining me today.
No, thank you so much. It was a pleasure to be here.
If you want links to the resources mentioned on the show, head on over to the episode page. And for information on booking a message therapy workshop, getting your hands on the message deck, to check out my upcoming book, or just buy me a coffee, go to nerdthattalksgood.com/podcast. Until next time, happy messaging. Remember, you don't have to speak well. You only got to learn how to talk good.